Planes take off every day. They cross oceans. They land safely. But not this one. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 took off with 239 people on board and vanished. No emergency call, no distress signal. Not a single piece of wreckage was found for over a year. Minutes after takeoff, the jet made an unexpected turn. It flew the wrong direction for nearly 7 hours. Nobody saw it happen. Nobody could stop it. To this day, we still don't know exactly why. This is the story of MH370, a flight that rewrote aviation history and left behind the greatest mystery modern air travel has ever faced. March 8, 2014, Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah arrives for his shift. 53 years old, 18,000 flight hours. A veteran pilot with 33 years at Malaysia Airlines. Tonight, he's flying one of aviation's most reliable aircraft, a Boeing 777-200ER. His co-pilot is First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, just 27. This is his final training flight before full certification on the 777. After tonight, he'll be qualified to fly this aircraft alone. The passenger manifest tells a story of ordinary people on ordinary journeys. 152 Chinese nationals returning from business trips, Malaysian families visiting relatives, European tourists heading home. Among them, 24 Chinese artists who had spent days in Kuala Lumpur showcasing their work. They're eager to return to Beijing, carrying sketches and memories of their exhibition. Flight MH370 carries 10,000 kilograms of cargo. Mangosteens, a tropical fruit bound for Chinese markets. Lithium batteries for electronics. Nothing unusual. At 12:41 a.m. local time, the Boeing 777 pushes back from Gate C1. 239 people on board. The weather is clear. All systems normal. The massive aircraft accelerates down the runway. Rotation speed, 165 knots. At 12:42 a.m., MH370 lifts off into the night sky. Everything appears routine. The flight is on schedule. The aircraft climbs smoothly toward its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. For the next 37 minutes, MH370 behaves exactly as expected. 1:07 a.m. The last automated system report. MH370's aircraft communications and reporting system, ACARS, sends its final transmission. Engine data, system status, position report, all normal. This should happen every 30 minutes, but the next report never comes. 1:19 a.m. Final voice contact. The last words from the cockpit are calm and professional. There's no hint of distress. 2 minutes later, everything changes. 1:21 a.m. The transponder stops. MH370 vanishes from air traffic control radar. No emergency call. No explanation. The aircraft's secondary radar signal, its electronic identification, simply disappears. Air traffic controllers in Kuala Lumpur try to make contact. Silence. In Ho Chi Minh City, controllers wait for MH370 to check in. The aircraft should be entering Vietnamese airspace, but it never calls. What controllers don't know is that MH370 hasn't continued toward Beijing. Military radar operators in Malaysia detect something alarming. The aircraft has turned around. But here's what makes this even more troubling. The Malaysian military became aware of the unidentified aircraft only after reviewing radar recordings several hours after the flight's disappearance. For over an hour, an unidentified aircraft crossed Malaysian airspace without anyone recognizing what they were seeing in real time. The failure to recognize and react to the unidentified aircraft was a security breach and was also a missed opportunity to intercept Flight 370 and prevent the time-consuming and expensive search operation. 1:30 a.m. The turnback. Malaysian military radar tracks an unidentified aircraft crossing back over peninsular Malaysia. It's flying at 35,000 feet, moving fast, but its transponder is off. The aircraft passes over familiar waypoints, but in reverse. Vampi, Makar, Pukar, names that should guide flights toward their destinations, not away from them. What's even more chilling, the aircraft's path takes it directly over Penang Island, Captain Zahari's hometown. Some investigators later interpreted this as a final farewell gesture by the pilot, a haunting goodbye to the place where he grew up. 2:22 a.m. Final radar contact. 200 nautical miles northwest of Penang Island. MH370 disappears from Malaysian military radar. The aircraft has flown for over an hour since its last normal communication. Where it's going? No one knows. What happens next would take investigators years to understand. Because while MH370 vanished from radar, it didn't vanish from the sky. But the response on the ground reveals a cascade of failures that would haunt the investigation for years. The watch supervisor at Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control didn't activate the Search and Rescue Coordination Center until 5:30 a.m., more than 4 hours after communication was lost with Flight 370. Air traffic controllers monitoring MH370 had failed to inform Ho Chi Minh Control Center that MH370 was to be monitored by Vietnam 3 minutes earlier than originally estimated. When Ho Chi Minh didn't establish communication with MH370, they should have alerted their Malaysian counterparts within 5 minutes, according to standard operating procedures. They didn't. Vietnam later revealed they had noticed MH370 turning back toward the west and informed Malaysian authorities twice on March 8th. But the information wasn't acted upon. These weren't just administrative oversights. They were critical failures that cost precious time in those first crucial hours when MH370 might still have been found. The signal nobody expected. While search teams scour the South China Sea for wreckage, engineers at a satellite ground station in Perth, Australia, noticed something strange in their data logs. MH370's satellite communication system, supposedly lost with the aircraft, has been sending automated signals. Not voice calls, not messages, just electronic handshakes, pings. Every hour for 7 hours, the aircraft's satellite system checked in with an Inmarsat satellite 22,000 miles above the Indian Ocean. This has never been used to find a missing aircraft before. The mathematical breakthrough. Each ping contains 2 crucial pieces of data. The time it takes for the signal to travel from aircraft to satellite, revealing how far the plane is from the satellite, and the frequency shift in the signal, revealing whether the aircraft is moving toward or away from the satellite. It's like celestial triangulation. The distance measurements create rings around the satellite. The frequency shifts eliminate half of each ring. What remains are arcs, possible flight paths stretching across the Indian Ocean. The final ping, 8:19 a.m. 6 hours after the last radar contact, a 7th ping arrives. But this one is different. It's not the usual hourly check-in. It's a reboot signal, the satellite system coming back online after a power loss. Investigators realize what this means. MH370's engines have stopped. The aircraft is running on backup power. It's about to crash. The mathematical analysis points to one conclusion. MH370 flew south, deep into the Indian Ocean, to one of the most remote places on Earth. The search begins. Australia launches the largest search operation in aviation history. Ships from multiple nations converge on the southern Indian Ocean. Underwater vehicles scan the seafloor with sonar. The search area is massive, 120,000 square kilometers. In water up to 6,000 meters deep, the technology is pushed to its limits. For 1,046 days, the search continues. $200 million spent, 26 nations involved. The most expensive aviation search ever conducted. They find nothing. July 29th, 2015, Reunion Island. A maintenance worker walking on a remote beach discovers a piece of aircraft debris. It's about 6 feet long, curved, metallic, covered in barnacles. The part number tells the story It's a flaperon from a Boeing 777. Laboratory analysis confirms it came from MH370. The debris trail. Over the next 3 years, 27 pieces of MH370 wash ashore across the Indian Ocean. Mozambique, South Africa, Tanzania, Madagascar. The ocean has carried fragments of the aircraft thousands of miles. Each piece tells part of the story. The flaperon was torn off by tremendous force. Wing flaps were in the retracted position, not configured for a controlled landing. The damage patterns suggest a high-speed impact with the water, but the debris raises more questions than answers. The missing pieces, the black boxes, flight data recorder, and cockpit voice recorder are never found. These devices, designed to survive the most extreme crashes, remain somewhere on the ocean floor. Without them, investigators can't hear the final conversations in the cockpit. They can't see the instrument readings. They can't know exactly what happened in MH370's final moments. But there's another disturbing discovery from the final report. MH370 was equipped with 4 emergency locator transmitters, or ELTs. These are mandatory safety devices designed to automatically send distress signals that satellites can detect and transmit to search and rescue agencies. MH370's ELTs never transmitted any signals. Not one. The report calls this the ineffectiveness of emergency locator transmitter technology. 4 separate devices designed to save lives in exactly this scenario, and all 4 failed when they were needed most. The main wreckage, the fuselage, wings, engines, also remains lost. Despite the most extensive search in aviation history, the primary evidence lies beyond reach. Ocean Infinity's attempt. In 2018, Ocean Infinity, a marine robotics company, launches a new search. Using advanced underwater vehicles, they scan another 112,000 square kilometers of seafloor. The technology is revolutionary. Multiple autonomous submarines working simultaneously, real-time data transmission, the ability to map the ocean floor in unprecedented detail. But after 138 days, they too find nothing. July 30th, 2018. The final report. After 4 years of investigation, Malaysian authorities released their conclusions. The 495-page report represents the most comprehensive analysis of MH370's disappearance. The findings are stark. The evidence suggests the aircraft was under manual control when it disappeared from radar. Someone deliberately turned MH370 around. Someone manually shut down the aircraft's communication systems. Someone flew the plane off course. The pilot's profile, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, becomes the focus of intense scrutiny. Investigators examine his personal life, his political views, his mental state. They discover flight simulator software on his home computer. Deleted files show simulated flights into the southern Indian Ocean, similar to MH370's calculated path. But the investigation finds no evidence of political motivation, no signs of mental illness, no financial problems, no personal crises. Zahari was described by colleagues as experienced and professional. His flight instructor called him a very good pilot. The co-pilot's background. First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid also undergoes investigation. This was his 6th flight on the Boeing 777. His training records show no red flags, but investigators note something troubling. Fariq's phone attempted to connect to a cell tower as MH370 flew over peninsular Malaysia. The connection was brief and incomplete, but it suggests someone in the cockpit was trying to communicate. Was someone trying to send a message, a call for help, or was it simply an automatic attempt by the phone to connect to a network? The investigators never found out. The system failures. The investigation reveals a precise sequence of system shutdowns. First, the ACR's communication system stopped at 1:07 a.m. Then the transponder at 1:21 a.m. Finally, the aircraft's satellite communication system lost power around 2:25 a.m. before mysteriously rebooting. This wasn't random system failure, it was deliberate, sequential, methodical. The unanswered questions. Despite years of investigation, crucial questions remain. Was this a deliberate act by one of the pilots? Was there a struggle in the cockpit? Was there third-party interference? The Malaysian report concludes, the evidence is not sufficient to determine the cause of the disappearance. What's clear is that MH370 flew for nearly 7 hours after its last normal communication. Someone was controlling the aircraft. Someone made decisions that led 239 people into the darkness of the Indian Ocean. Who that someone was and why they did it remains one of aviation's greatest mysteries. But the report addresses one conspiracy theory that had circulated widely: the possibility that MH370 was remotely controlled by third parties. Boeing had received a patent in 2006 for an uninterruptible autopilot system that could theoretically take control away from pilots during a hijacking. The investigators' conclusion? Boeing confirmed this system was never implemented on any commercial aircraft. MH370 was delivered in 2002, before the patent even existed. The evidence indicated that the airplane was not remotely controlled by third-party intervention. Whatever happened to MH370, it happened from within the aircraft itself. The wake-up call. MH370's disappearance exposed a shocking truth about modern aviation. In an age of smartphones and GPS, commercial aircraft could still vanish without a trace. The International Civil Aviation Organization responded with the most significant tracking reforms in aviation history. GADS, the global solution. The Global Aeronautical Distress and Safety System, GADS, emerged from the lessons of MH370. 3 revolutionary requirements. Normal tracking. Aircraft must report their position every 15 minutes over oceanic and remote areas. Distress tracking. In emergency situations, aircraft must transmit their position every minute. Autonomous distress tracking. Systems must activate automatically, even if pilots are incapacitated. The technology revolution. Satellite-based tracking systems now monitor aircraft worldwide. Space-based ADS-B provides coverage over oceans and remote areas where radar can't reach. Enhanced emergency locator transmitters activate automatically during crashes. Deployable flight recorders can eject from aircraft and float on the ocean surface, transmitting location data. These systems would have found MH370 within hours, not years. Mental health reforms. The aviation industry also confronted uncomfortable questions about pilot mental health. The Federal Aviation Administration expanded psychological screening procedures. Airlines implemented peer support programs. The stigma around mental health reporting began to diminish. Aviation medical examiners received enhanced training on psychological evaluation. The human cost. The families of MH370's 239 passengers and crew fought for answers, transparency, and justice. Their advocacy drove many of the reforms that followed. Compensation battles continue. Some families have received settlements. Others still seek both financial compensation and funds for continued search efforts. The ongoing search. In 2024, Malaysia approved a new search proposal from Ocean Infinity. Advanced underwater vehicles will scan previously unsearched areas of the Indian Ocean. The technology has advanced dramatically since 2018. New artificial intelligence systems can identify aircraft wreckage with unprecedented accuracy. For the families, the search represents hope. For the aviation industry, it represents closure. But there's another technological breakthrough that emerged in 2024. Researchers at Cardiff University and the University of Liverpool have been studying something called Weak Signal Propagation Reporter Data, WSPR. This involves amateur radio operators who record low-frequency signals from transmitters around the world, with ranges up to 10,000 kilometers. These signals, stored in a database since 2008, might hold the key to tracking MH370's exact flight path. When aircraft pass through these radio signals, they create disturbances that can be detected and analyzed years later. It's like finding footprints in invisible sand. WSPR analysis has the potential to revolutionize how we search for missing aircraft, using a global network of radio enthusiasts who never knew they were creating one of the most comprehensive tracking systems on Earth. 10 years later, MH370's disappearance remains aviation's greatest mystery, but its legacy lives on in every commercial flight that takes off today. When you board an aircraft, sophisticated tracking systems monitor its every movement. Satellite networks provide continuous coverage. Enhanced emergency systems stand ready to activate. These systems exist because 239 people, passengers and crew, were lost in the darkness of the Indian Ocean. Their disappearance taught the world that in aviation, no aircraft should ever vanish without a trace. The continuing search for truth, the mathematical precision of satellite analysis, the determination of international search teams, the relentless advocacy of families, all of these forces continue to drive the search for MH370. Each piece of debris tells part of the story. Each advancement in search technology brings us closer to answers. Each reform in aviation safety honors the memory of those lost. The questions that remain. What happened in MH370's cockpit during those final hours? Who made the decision to turn around? Why did the aircraft fly south into the Indian Ocean? These questions may never be fully answered, but the search for truth continues. In ocean depths, in investigation files, in the hearts of those who refuse to let this mystery end with uncertainty. The lesson of MH370. In aviation, as in life, some mysteries endure. But from mystery comes learning. From tragedy comes progress. From loss comes the determination to ensure it never happens again. MH370 changed aviation forever. Every flight today is safer because of lessons learned from this tragedy. Every passenger is protected by systems that didn't exist before March 8, 2014. The aircraft may never be found, but the 239 souls aboard MH370 will never be forgotten. Their legacy lives on in every aircraft that lands safely, every family that reaches their destination, every flight that the world can track from takeoff to landing. In the end, that may be the most important discovery of all. If you found this story of aviation's greatest mystery compelling, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that changed our world. What other aviation mysteries would you like us to explore? Let us know in the comments below.